What happened was we reached the moon, but lost in space. I think we got there all too soon. But you know what? I'm coming back for you, baby. I'm coming back for you.
Bitch, I'm Big Carver. Yeah. Don't call me Kim, ho. The fuck? Got good pussy, have a bust.
What is more likely, that the system that literally came after feudalism, so the one with lords and serfs, that system is still unjust and leads to socioeconomic inequalities that we see in our everyday lives, or it's more likely that the people that you see in your everyday life that are suffering in the street want to do so? Which one is more likely? That the system that came after feudalism is not good and could be improved upon, but not good, or that there is such an inherent difference between those at the top and those at the bottom that the people who are suffering and don't have access to utilities, healthcare, hell, a roof over their head, that is what they want, and that is something that is desirable by anyone. Which is more likely? And also, keep in mind while you're answering this question, who do you serve by believing whichever side of that question? Who do you help? Always ask yourself that. And also, who's telling you these arguments? Because
Are you ready? Here we go. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December.
Hayden, and today I'm going to teach you how to clean your depression room. I've lived with depression for the last 7-8-ish years of my life, and I'm here to give you some tips that I've found work for me. If you can't watch this video in full now, save it for later. You might use it in the future. First thing you're going to do, put on some banger tunes. I'm not talking about your depression playlist, babe. That's not going to cut it. You need to put on some upbeat music, something that'll get you moving. Second, I'd recommend a caffeine boost if you can tolerate it healthily. This does not mean down a monster at 10 p.m., but it does mean that if you start in the morning, get yourself a cup of coffee or something. Now, I'm going to give you a few ways to clean your room. Some of them might work for you, some of them might not work for you. It's really up to you as an individual, but here's some things that I've found work for me. For cleaning off your floor, what you're going to do is you're going to look around, you're going to look at everything that's on your floor, and you're going to make a list of categories of things that are on your floor. Things like clothing, or in my case, yarn and craft supplies. Could be garbage, could be recycling, anything, paper. You're going to look at that list, you're going to pick one category off of that list, and you're going to go around on your floor and pick up everything from that category. I highly recommend starting with laundry, A, because you probably have a lot more laundry on your floor than you realize, and B, it's a great place to start because all of that dirty laundry goes in either one of two places, either your dirty laundry hamper or your dresser or closet or whatever you keep your clean laundry, and it's a lot less mental energy spent on trying to figure out where things go than other things. If you've still got energy and motivation after that, good for you. Keep going. Pick another category. Keep cleaning, bud. Another great way to get a start on cleaning your room is to make a list of everything that you need to do to get your room as clean as you want to, except for cleaning off the floor. Things like cleaning off surfaces, like maybe your desk or the top of your dresser or your nightstand or something like that. Organizing your shelves or closets. I'm suggesting starting with something other than the floor because I don't know about anybody else's depression room, but cleaning off my floor was most definitely the most daunting task of cleaning my depression room. I would also like to put a lot of emphasis on the need for a sense of accomplishment because that's how you keep going and that's how you get the motivation to continue on to the next step. Finally, another great way to clean your room is to go onto your floor and pick up 5 things. That's it. Then if you've still got the energy, pick up another 5 things. And then if you still have energy after that, pick up another 5 things. You see where I'm going with this? Bit by bit by bit, you're accomplishing something, and that's all that matters. Remember to work with yourself. Some days cleaning can just be too much and you need to acknowledge that limit. And don't be afraid to ask for help on the days where things do seem way too hard to do. I wouldn't have been able to clean my room a few years ago without the help of my mom, so it's going to be hard, and at the same time, you can still do it. I believe in you. And I'm proud of you.
Get a load of this monster. He doesn't know how to communicate. His mind is in a different place. Well, everybody
Hey, don't cry. Look, tiny glass B. Okay? Yeah.
You going to school to become a nurse, I thought you would want your business. I love it, I think that it's different.
This is going to be sensitive subject matter, so I'm just going to give a trigger warning. I'm going to be talking about the prison industrial complex, specifically racial profiling, and specifically this demographic of people. I don't think a lot of people understand that when it comes to predators, the biggest demographics of people who are falsely accused and the people who get the worst punishments are personas negros. And it really doesn't sit right in my soul when certain demographics of women are the ones who are kind of laughing and wishing harm on people that haven't directly impacted you. Like, it's different if it's your own perpetrator, but it's different if you're just making assumptions of everyone who's gone to jail based on that should have the same punishment. Along with the fact that as a human rights activist, human rights violations are human rights violations. Regardless, there's a cycle of abuse, right? And just because I don't think it's my decision to decide who is deserving of human rights and who isn't. And that's all I'm going to say for now.
Steven, what are you doing in there?
Drugs.
When brands are saying African food is not marketable, they are telling me that their products cannot be effectively used to cook African food. Aside from the huge gap in marketing they're foregoing because my sponsored posts tend to do quite well, I think it's rather interesting that there's the concept that I do not shop at regular grocery stores. Most of the recipes I make, the tomatoes, onions, rice, canned beans, oil, meat replacements, and spices are purchased from my local grocery store. And I do this to showcase that African food can be accessible from just the few things that you can find at a grocery store. Yet I get emails from brands who simply cannot get past the false idea that their product does not fit within food from the African continent, nor do they find that it's worth paying me to showcase their product in a diverse light. They will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars with the same food bloggers creating the same recipes, but then they will come and talk about diversifying their feed, only to reject the opportunities to actually diversify their feed.
People always ask me the same question. They say, you're gay or straight, or you're gay or straight, or you're gay or straight, or you're straight or gay. And I always answer them the same way. I say, who cares? I'm not going to have sex with you. You're too sticky. I'm in a relationship with the moon.
So, what should you be reading instead of this book now that we've summarised that it's only really revolutionary if you're privileged and are unaware of the world around you? Octavia Butler's Dawn takes place on a spaceship. No, it's not the kind of book that you think it is. Essentially, humans have torn themselves apart with a nuclear apocalypse, and the last remaining humans alive are taken onto this alien spaceship and saved by this race. However, all that glitters is not gold. They want something in return. Take away humans' reproductive rights. The only way for you to have a baby is to have a baby with one of these aliens. Aliens basically have the idea that they're genetically hardwired to destruction. You know, they need the intervention of these superior intelligent beings so that they continue as a species. Who does this remind you of? Really delves into what it means to be a human. How far are we willing to go for the survival of the species? Do we even deserve this species to survive? Flawed. What is consent? What is coercive control? And can there be a choice when the alternative is just as dire? One by Miss Octavia Butler. This book takes place on Earth. I love how this delves into race and class. I think the intersectionality is so important because often we don't talk about how members of the same race can have completely different experiences because of their social class. And say, well, racism is racism, but there are degrees to this. This is actually the sequel. The first book is Parable of the Sower, but I feel like this one just gave a deeper dive into it, and I think it was an amazing sequel, but obviously read Parable of the Sower first. It's actually essentially predicted Donald Trump happening, and all she had to do was look at the past, look at history, see how people will always vote in their personal favour regardless of how it affects the rest of society, and she had a book. If you follow me, you know I'm a big fan of Notes and Crosses, and I'm a big fan of Mallory Black. It was black privilege instead of white privilege. What if black people had basically done the transatlantic slave trade and reaped all the rewards of that? In 50 years, this book will be called a classic. It's already being taught in schools. Love is that it doesn't just go for blatant racism, overt racism. It is so subtle and really taps into those microaggressions, those covert racism, those little imbalances in justice that black people have to deal with every single day. That really sticks with me, and I'm not going to go into it because I want you to read it yourself, is the plaster scene and the plaster that doesn't match Callum's skin.